What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. Another Friday, another episode of Why Are We Bullish? Got a hell of a panel today. In fact, we've got perhaps in combination with everybody on every screen, one of the larger panels that I've had in a while, maybe since Christmas. So yeah, we've got a ton of great guests. We're going to be chatting about a lot of different topics. Very excited. There's a lot to talk about. A lot's been going on this week, and I'm sure we're going to run the gamut. Of course, this is live. Anything can happen. Plug your ears. But I do defer to my friend Bill here.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live. And thing sucks.
As always, please do like, subscribe, share, all those things, super important. They do help the show. And I am Ben with the BTC Sessions. This is your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.
Before we bring in our guests, we're going to take a look, maybe not a look because, again, StreamYard giving me issues with sharing my screen. But in the market right now, we're sitting just north of $30,000 per coin. A single US dollar will pick you up 3,331 sats. 90.66% of all Bitcoin have been mined, and fees. Mempool has been getting hammered lately. Thanks, Binance. 19 sats per byte for the next block, even if you're willing to wait an hour, around 14 sats per byte. So if you're looking to do some, coin join, opening lightning channels and all that stuff, maybe wait a little bit for that. If you've already got your lightning channels all set, then no big deal. You're set. Shout out to sponsors of the show, Shakepay.com. If you're in Canada, easy way to stack sats, no deposit or withdrawal fees, thin spread, e-transfers in and out, super simple. And if you use the link down below, you will get, after your first $100 worth of Bitcoin purchase, you'll get $30 for free. Same deal for referring friends and family. And then you can shake your phone every single day for free sats. So check them out. LEDN.io, you can use your Bitcoin for a ton of different services. For myself, it tends to be used the most when I'm when it's a cash flow issue and I may need dollars, but I don't want to sell my Bitcoin. So I can deposit Bitcoin, get a loan of dollars, and when I pay those back, I get back the same amount of sats. They, of course, have their savings accounts for Bitcoin and USDC. And then outside of that, they're starting to roll out Bitcoin-backed mortgages, starting in Ontario and then working their way across Canada and soon in some US states. So if you want to check them out, LEDN.io, they have information on all of that. And there's actually a link down below where you can also get $10 for free if you sign up and utilize your account. So check them out down there. Bitrefill, that helps you live on Bitcoin. I use this thing a ton. Gift cards for everything that your little heart desires, and you can pay with Bitcoin both on-chain and Lightning, and you earn sats back as you shop. So be sure to check them out as well down below. Keystone, you guys know them. One of my favorite and most used hardware wallets. Totally offline, totally air-gapped, meaning you never plug the thing into anything internet connected. So I have a full tutorial on that and links for them down below. And finally, of course, backing up your hardware wallet. Steel is a much better idea than paper. So to get it installed as steel, you can check out privacypros.io, and they have the BillFodl, and that's how I'm typically backing up all my important wallets. But with that, enough of my rambling. We're going to get our panelists in here. So we have Pastorcoin, we have Deniz, we have the team down at Bitcoin Lake, and we have Bitcoin Gandalf. Welcome, everybody. Super happy to have you all here. Let's get ourselves a round of intros. So we'll just go down the line, just a quick, who are you and what do you do? And then we'll start diving in. So Pastorcoin, I'm going to start with you. Can you give a quick little who are you and what do you do?
Yeah, my name is Pastorcoin. Also, you could call me Bishop Coin or His Popeness, whatever you like. I'm a church planter. No, don't call me that. Don't call me that. I'm outside, so if you see me swatting, it's the bees. I'm a church planter.
You mean?
What's that? Yeah. I'm a church planter in Canada, and I start churches. I preach the Bible. I tell people about Jesus, and I'm a Bitcoiner. And so that sort of alienates me from some of my brethren in the faith, since there's a lot of Christian FUD Which I found that a lot of the Christian FUD is like 5 years behind. So I'm dealing with a lot of the old school stuff. Like I get a lot of, we'll talk about it later. So yeah, that's what I do. I'm a pastor, I'm a Bitcoiner, and I'm also starting a Bitcoin community in my city, which is sort of, I live in Windsor, which is a very blue collar city, and we're already like sort of the plebs of Ontario, and so my goal is I want to turn Windsor, Ontario into Pleb City, Canada, and so we're starting a Bitcoin meetup this month on Bitcoin Pizza Day, and I'm really excited about that. So planting churches, starting Bitcoin meetups, and trying to orange pill the Bitcoiners. Or sorry, orange pill the Christians and Christ pill the Bitcoiners. That's my mission.
Love it. Well, welcome to the show, man. First time here, fellow Canadian. Glad to have you. Let's jump down the line. Deniz, let people know, who are you? What do you do?
What's up, guys? I don't know. I don't know what I do anymore. But yeah, it kind of started out with like 58K gang, and it kind of just snowballed into me just doing other stuff within the Bitcoin space. I'm mostly writing because I see a lot of like smaller companies just popping up here and there that don't have, like, I guess there's a bit of a demand for writing, so I kind of just stuck with that. So now just editing for BTC Times and doing stories here and there whenever I can.
Awesome. I love it, man. And I will be very excited to see the return of 58K gang.
Yeah, I think everyone
there was
will
a
be.
back and forth between it prior, but now you know what you don't miss your water till the well runs dry, and you know I will be applauding the return of 58K gang. It's inevitable. You know, there'll be people didn't know how good they had it. So
yeah, it's all about appreciation, and 58K forever.
Awesome. Gandalf, you're up. Let people know who you are, what you do.
What's up, everyone? It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me back, Ben. Yeah, I'm a random dude that got a Twitter account last year, and now I have 2 Bitcoin jobs, and I spend all my time doing Bitcoin stuff. So I help run BTC Times. So Deniz and I work together. Although I'm going to be leaving that probably at the end of this month to focus on learning to code and getting more into the technical side of Bitcoin, just because I feel like I've covered a lot of like the financial side of it, and I want to just get to know the protocol better from a technical level. And then I also do social media marketing for Brains and Slushpool.
That's awesome, man. Well, I am glad to have you back, returning guest of the show, and I'm sure we'll dive into even more of that soon. And we're gonna toss it to our panel here of multiple people down at Bitcoin Lake, headed up Dr. Patrick Melder and company. So maybe you guys want to give an intro, who you guys are, what you're doing.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Ben. Yeah, so we're heading up the project Bitcoin Lake, which is the best Bitcoin project. No deference to Bitcoin Beach, but we're building the next best Bitcoin circular economy down here in Panelist, Guatemala. Probably one of the most beautiful spots in the world. And we are just doing some fantastic work with education at a high school down here. We are actually doing mining. We've actually plugged in miners down here. We just brought the seed signers down here to educate them on seed signers. So shout out to Seed Signer for allowing us to bring these down here. And we have about, in the first 3 months of official launch, we have probably 40 businesses right now in Panelist, and we just are concluding a business development trip where I brought a bunch of folks down from the U.S. to see, and Guatemalans from Guatemala City to see what we're doing here. And you can literally come here and spend Bitcoin. We're still trying to close some of the loops with like travel and stuff like that, but if you want to come down here and live off of Bitcoin and do all the touristy things, you can do it. So we're excited about that, and we're super excited about our Bitcoin mining project. And the master, Bill Whitaker, and his crew are in charge of that. So I'll let Bill kind of talk about why he's excited about that.
So Bill Whitaker,
No, let's give yourself an intro. But if you're going to be diving into your details, save that for when you get to your reason. But yeah, introduce yourselves too.
Yeah, so Bill Whitaker, I'm a longtime coach and educator. Spent 10 years in the financial industry, so was really in the sausage factory with that, and learned a lot about money and finance. Found Bitcoin back in 2017, and just really excited about the educational opportunities and bringing the engineering and technology to STEM that a lot of schools don't have, and Bitcoin's a great vehicle for that. So I'm working at a high school in St. Louis called Principia School. That's where these two young ladies are students. Last year at the 2021 Bitcoin conference, they said, hey, we want to do our senior project on Bitcoin. And they came up with this really cool idea to do sustainable Bitcoin mining. And I'll throw it to them because that's why I'm here, and that's why I've actually gotten into the whole waste energy Bitcoin mining space. So it is because of Kate and Medicaid.
Yeah, go.
Okay, just introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Kate. As he said, I'm down here for school. I'm learning about mining and how to create sustainable energy to be able to mine. It's been really cool learning down here and meeting different kinds of people in the Bitcoin community. So excited to continue to learn.
Yeah, I'm Medicaid. My friend Kate, and we've been working on our project for like a year now, the entire school year. So we're down here. We've been just learning about the sustainable energy things and Bitcoin and mining as well. And we've done a couple miner drops too, so it's really cool.
Damn, that's awesome. Well, I'm so glad to have the whole team down. I would very much love to visit it down there. I'm sure we're going to hear some more about it momentarily. So we've got our whole panel here. Those watching, this is Why Are We Bullish? Very simple premise for a show. Pretty much the way it's going to work is somebody's going to drop a reason for being bullish. Once they're done with that, we're all going to riff on it together, comments, questions, whatever it may be. And then finally, we're going to rotate. So reason, riff, rotate. Simple. I'm going to get us started here, and very glad that Patrick brought up the seed signer, because this is one of my reasons for being bullish this week. On Monday, I dropped a tutorial for the seed signer. So there's my seed signer right there. Now, those that didn't see this or maybe are unfamiliar, what is a seed signer? Effectively, it is a build-it-yourself hardware device that allows you to sign Bitcoin transactions. And the interesting part about it is that you can build it from run-of-the-mill parts that are very, very relatively cheap in comparison to maybe some other options on the market. So the important part about that, it's not that necessarily everybody needs to build their own seed signer or their own hardware device to utilize Bitcoin. But the important part here is that people can. The fact that people now don't need to rely on a specific company or a few companies to provide them the hardware to create security and create the seeds to their money, to create their private keys and manage them and utilize them, it is now effectively decentralized because this is an open source project, right? So you can see and audit the code. You can see and audit the way that these things are built. You can source the parts in such a way that nobody would even know that you have Bitcoin, let alone a signing device itself. And you can utilize this thing in a way. It's stateless, which means that every time you power it down, other than the firmware running on it that makes it function, it doesn't retain your keys. And so for some, that's a turnoff. But the idea is that this is specifically just meant to allow you to utilize your private keys and then approve and sign transactions, and also verify that addresses belong to the keys that you're utilizing, or use it in a way where you have multiple keys for a multi-sig. You can do a lot of different things. And so when I did the video on it, I basically showed how to build it, how to put it together from parts, then how to create your own seeds, which end up being just little QR codes that you can transcribe yourself onto paper or onto metal or whatever it may be, which felt like magic. Because, like, let's be real, you're like, there's no way this is actually going to scan and function just from creating it from scratch and putting some dots on paper and have this be an actual key to money, an uncensorable, randomly created seed phrase that I can now utilize to send funds across the globe. But it works. You literally draw a QR code, and you can now, any person can scan this, anybody in possession of it can utilize it to send and receive funds to anyone around the globe. And that's a powerful concept, especially in the context of it being entirely permissionless and buildable from run-of-the-mill parts. And so I'm just, I already gave my rant in my tutorial at the end, but it's such a powerful concept that all of these points of these pinch points, these single points of failure of, oh, well, what if they outlaw Bitcoin and all of a sudden you can't source hardware wallets in your jurisdiction? That's kind of out the window now, because you can just build it. You can just build it from whatever. They have people that have built these out of lots of different, they're starting to experiment with different types of hardware to build these too. So you don't need these specific parts. But it just kind of shows the adversarial thinking of Bitcoiners in like a worst case scenario where it's just like you weren't allowed to do anything regarding Bitcoin. You can still just do it. You can still just make your own seed. You can still build your own hardware. You can still run your own node and verify rather than trusting in others to do that for you. And for me, that's a very powerful concept. And I think some people are kind of sleeping on the seed signer in itself, just as a concept, just as a, people can even do this, because the fact that somebody can do this is kind of mind-blowing to myself. So I'm gonna maybe I'll just stick to this as my main, maybe some other stuff will come up later, but this is going to be my main reason for being bullish this week is the seed signer, and as a whole, the adversarial thinking of Bitcoiners to even think to make this thing possible. So I'm going to open it up now. If anybody has a comment, a thought, maybe what I'd like to do is maybe ask Patrick and the team down there their experience with, because you just said that you have a bunch of seed signers down there, and then they helped you guys bring some of those to Guatemala. So what has been your experience with seed signers so far?
Well, it's been limited. We just got them. We just brought them down this week and introduced them to the high school on Wednesday. But we did it for multiple reasons. One of the issues with creating a circular economy here and also in Bitcoin Beach is self-sovereignty, because the wallets that we're using, the Bitcoin Beach wallet in particular, is a custodial wallet. And I feel like, and I told Seed Center this, I feel like it's a moral obligation that if we're going to be teaching people about Bitcoin, we've got to teach them how to self-custody. And I've been kind of thinking about this, and Seed Signer just reached out to me, and this was not planned. Ben doing the tutorial and me having these Seed Signers, this was not planned. But I've been trying to think about a way to introduce self-custody and bringing cold cards down here or something. But we're gone from a community that doesn't know anything about Bitcoin, and we're kind of at, we're probably all at like level 8 of Bitcoin knowledge, and they're probably at 0.5. And I think that introducing something like a cold card would be just too daunting. And so we brought these down to give Seed Signers some feedback, and they're also working with Galloy Money, who makes the Bitcoin Beach wallet, to turn this in, use the Bitcoin Beach wallet as a watch-only wallet for the seed signer, similar to what Blue Wallet does for Cold Card. So some really cool things, and it's exciting. So that's the feedback right now. We'll probably give you some more real life feedback in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. Yeah.
I think that the cool thing, I remember the first time I saw a seed signer, we're up in St. Louis where the seed signers come out of. And I remember sitting at a table and they were talking about it and just being blown away by how early we are that we can see this type of technology in front of us and we can use it. And to your point, I mean, this paradigm shift, you hear about that a lot, but this is where educationally for young people, we talk a lot about centralized and decentralized and the ability to have your own control of what you're doing. We're not used to that as humans. And so having these tools, and it's so cool to see it in front of a bunch of young kids that you get to see there's two different types of learners, right? There's the ones that like to get in and get technical and they're taking it apart and they're going through and flipping through and seeing all the QR codes and functions. And some kids aren't that focused on that, but those tend to be the ones that want to build and do other things in other ways. So I think this is part of that educational aspect of really bringing technology and design and you know, pushing the kids out a little bit and giving them control of their own experience.
Yeah, imagine, you know, 100 years ago, showing kids how to print money. You know, I mean, that's kind of what we're doing here. You know, we're introducing them money, but we're also showing all the aspects of money. It's really cool.
Yeah, it'll be super interesting down the line because you know, from your perspective on the ground there, you guys are going to have kind of like the inverse of what a lot of people go through of learning on probably a simpler device that doesn't challenge you to kind of understand what you're doing with Bitcoin. You know, like a lot of people, they'll get their first hardware experience with like a Trezor or a Ledger, which, you know, like they function, they do what they're supposed to do. But when you get into something like this, it challenges you to understand what is actually happening with Bitcoin and what your keys are and what is a seed phrase and what is a, you know, what is a private key and how can it be utilized, and like the difference between the key and the actual device that's signing and how those things aren't always paired. You know, you can have it separate. So it'll be an interesting learning curve. I'll be interested to hear back from you guys as you introduce some of these concepts down there. It'll you've got your work cut out for you because obviously this is like a different level of knowledge, but I think the ones that like getting in there and pulling things apart, they're going to gravitate towards this because they're going to go, oh wow, cool, now I'm starting to understand the underlying of what's happening here. So I'm going to open it up to some of the other panel, whether it be Deniz, Gandalf, Pastorcoin. Any comments, thoughts on Seed Signer?
Yeah, so sorry guys, I don't know if you can see, my kids are like right there. So where are they? Do you see them? They're banging on the window, really distracting me. But you mentioned the adversarial nature of Bitcoiners, and I'm bullish on that because of, you know, not to sound like Helen Lovejoy, but for the children, you know, this is technology that my children and, you know, your children will be utilizing, and it'll be normal for them. Now it's like, you know, you walk on the street, talk to somebody, say, hey, what do you think about the seed signer? They're probably gonna be like, what are you talking about? But for our children, this is going to be something that is going to be, I'm just muting my phone, sorry, is going to be normal for them. And I'm bullish on the future because there are technologies and innovations to come in Bitcoin that we don't know exist yet. And this is going to help our children and their children and bring freedom to them. This is why I'm such a huge proponent of Bitcoin, and what I'm trying to communicate to my Christian brethren is, guys, this is a gift from God Almighty. You know, this is the ark. We need to get on it. So lest I preach, I'll let somebody else talk.
I love it. Dennis, Gandalf, anything?
Yeah, I remember in the, I guess the 2017, 2016 run up, it was really hard to get some hardware devices during that time. So around like 2018, 19, I was like, okay, I got to stock up to make sure I can at least have some spares, you know, to give out to people or just on my own person. But yeah, I think this is a very beautiful thing to see develop within the space for sure, just because you never know what macro insanity is going to happen. It's like, oh yeah, we don't have the shipments, or the parts aren't coming in because they're stalled at the border or something crazy like that. So it's really good to see that you can have like pieces at home or like nearby just to create one of these things. It's awesome.
Gandalf, how about you? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think like Bitcoin's amazing for tinkerers. Like, and I'm so grateful for these sort of projects and like Seed Signer, Spectre DIY, everyone building open source stuff, because you can get in there and you can go as deep. Well, you know, you can use a ledger, which, like you say, maybe doesn't really help you understand how Bitcoin works too much, or you can like go really deep and like compile your own node from scratch, or you can like flash software onto the Seed Signer. So it's super bullish for those that are curious. I don't know about like, you know, I'm not convinced that everyone's going to be using Bitcoin in a self-sovereign way and like building their own little seed signer and stuff, because I just don't think it's for everyone. But for the people that, yeah, I guess like without Bitcoin, I'm not sure that I would have realized that I was that tinkery. I never thought of myself as like somebody who would build a seed sign or whatever, or build a node, and yet I'm doing it, and it's because of Bitcoin. So maybe I'm being cynical with the fact that, like, you know, saying that most people won't do it. Maybe they will. Who knows? But yeah, super bullish. I love all this stuff, and I would, you know, I'm like, I go extreme. So the more I've gotten into Bitcoin, the more I'm like, all my hardware wallets have to be self-built, and I flash my own software and all this stuff. And like, how can I go? Yeah, it can get pretty crazy. Just in terms of the time, you know, when you have to invest all the time to do things, to go to the extreme, you start to think about the trade-offs. Like, you know, I could be spending time with my daughter, or I could be spending time doing XYZ, yet like I'm here trying to like plug in a fan into a thing that doesn't work and trying to figure it out. But yeah, I love that. Great, massive shout out to Seed Signer, massive shout out to everyone that is doing open source stuff. I love it. And yeah, I think it's super bullish.
Awesome. Well, let's round out this topic. Just in general, if people are curious about, again, like the website seedsigner.com. I will say, and I said this in the tutorial, but I think what these guys are doing and working on is massively important, and also massively overlooked by a lot of these funds that are helping back open source Bitcoin projects. And so I'd encourage you to go check out the website, and also if you see value in what they're doing, maybe drop a few sats to their donation page. I think I can't recall. I just want to I want to say it here because it's worth checking out. But btcpay.keithmukai, so KEITHMUKI, holy shit, MUKAI.com, and it'll be on the Seed Signer website as well. But you can drop some sats there if you see fit, if you value. It's basically a dev grant fund, and I've donated to it a couple times now, so worth checking out. And again, I'll mention it again at the end of the show. But
Ben, sorry, just a quick question on the Seed Signer. So but it doesn't save your keys on it. So technically you can use it to sign, like if you had a multi-sig, like a 2 of 3 or whatever, you can use it to sign for both keys. You could just have the one. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. So it's stateless, meaning that as soon as it's powered down, the key that you're dealing with is no longer allocated on the device. So the key is separate. Typically, like you could enter a seed phrase, but the way you can also export it as a QR code that you can transcribe yourself, which you can then scan in and then utilize until you power down the device. So in the instance of a multi-sig transaction, like I did it on Sparrow Wallet, I set it up with 3 seeds that were generated on this device. And then I was able to go through, I was in the instance where all 3 keys were in the same location, I was able to scan them all in and then approve the signatures one at a time. But in the instance where they're not in the same location, you know, you can go to one location, scan the seed in, approve the transaction, sign that, and then just keep the signed transaction ready, go to the next location, scan the next seed, approve that signature, and then send off the transaction. So yeah, it's totally stateless. You can deal with multi-sig on this. I did that in the tutorial. And so yeah, you can utilize the keys in whatever way you see fit, which is super unique. Same with passphrases. You can use passphrases on this. So you don't have a single point of failure with a seed phrase sitting around. So yeah, super useful. Recommend checking it out. But anyways, I'll just, anybody curious, there's a tutorial that I just dropped on Monday on the YouTube channel. You can check it out. With that, let's do a little rotation. And Ramel actually had one question. So you could just scan 2 out of 3 QR codes for the multi-sig. Yeah, that's right. And you can do it one at a time. You can scan one, sign, move locations, scan one, sign, and then send off. Yeah, so that's pretty much how it goes. With that, I'm going to do a rotation. And I know that Patrick is going to be shorter on time here. So Bitcoin Lake, you guys are going to be my first rotation for a reason for being bullish. I'll just say in the chat right now, thank you guys for the messages coming through. Keep them coming. I'm going to start trying to pull more of them in now that I'm done with my topic. And Patrick and Bitcoin Lake and everybody there, I'll talk to you. What are you guys feeling bullish for?
Well, we're super bullish about this made in Guatemala Bitcoin, Lago Bitcoin bag. Very traditional item, but we branded it with Lago Bitcoin. So Lago Bitcoin, Lake Bitcoin, we're on Lake Atitlán in Panajachel. We're super bullish about, wow, the progress we've made in such a short amount of time. And like I mentioned in the intro, you can come here, you can stay in a hotel, you can eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner at 3 different restaurants, you can go to a bar, you can get across the lake, all of that. You can go to a store and buy books and pencils or whatever. We've got merchandise that we've made down here, all paid with Bitcoin. So yeah, I mean, it's a great experience and it's a lot of fun. And so we're super bullish about that. And I think that probably the most exciting thing that we're working on, I mean, everything that we're working on down here is really, really cool. But I think what kind of sets us apart from all the other communities that are out there, which are all great, it's our mining operation. You know, the Bitcoin Beach was endowed with some Bitcoin that kind of started the process down there. We don't have an endowment. We don't have a secret donor. We just kind of bootstrap this. I come down here. We all come down here on our own dime to do what we're doing. And so that was kind of one of the reasons that I wanted to bring Bitcoin mining into the community. And shout out to Pastorcoin. He and I have known each other for a while on Twitter, and he's I'll shout out my book, The Christian Case for Bitcoin. But really coming down here and providing Bitcoin mining as a way to provide economic opportunity for those who really need it the most to escape from the fiat system. And yeah, Bill, do you want to talk about the mining more?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're super bullish about the energy opportunities that are down here to turn waste into energy. And I think for me, that's something that, like, I'm in my early 50s, and I just heard about this concept and this understanding that we create massive amounts of feedstock every single day, and our human waste and our protein development waste, like from chickens and cows and pigs, and also from our food waste. And we've been for decades, if not centuries, paying people to take it away and bury it, while we go out and spend massive amounts of resources to dig things out of the ground and process them and burn them, and it's not good for the environment. And so what we're finding down here is that they have very high energy costs. And so plugging a miner into the grid right now doesn't make any sense. But as we drop these miners at Town Hall, in a couple of local areas, other people that are going to be plugging them in their communities, that they can begin to get incentivized and look at the waste they have, and how they can start turning that into lower cost energy that can not only give them electricity for their homes and living, but also now perhaps mine Bitcoin and have that pump back into the system. And really simple, if you think, if they're paying 17 cents a kilowatt hour down here, and we can create energy and electricity that's 3 or 4 cents a kilowatt by using their waste, they've all of a sudden saved, 10 to 13 cents a kilowatt hour that now can go into other community projects. And the idea as we're looking at this is to not only create enough energy to power these communities, but then go above and beyond that so they can begin to actually mine Bitcoin to go into these circular economies. So we're super psyched about that. And the research and development that these high school girls are doing, I joked in an article, I have 2 high school girls that are doing research and development on waste to energy Bitcoin mining, while we've got, one of the larger projects out there partnering up with Greenpeace trying to change the code of Bitcoin. So which way do you want to go, right? And I think this is the way to go. We're excited.
Describe to me the waste process. Like, how do you utilize that waste to create energy, just for those unfamiliar with how that might work?
So there's 3 areas we're looking at. There's wastewater treatment plants, there's landfills, and there's food waste. And so, for example, with food waste, if you think about right now, there's actually people in the U.S. that are going around collecting the food waste from a lot of your fast food restaurants, bringing it to agricultural centers and turning that into biodiesel. So that's one way. And then obviously with the waste management, the wastewater treatment plant, the same thing. They already have a biodigester here. They're right now just either venting the methane into the air, or they're putting into a flare to burn it off. Their flare is not working, so they're just venting it. The idea is to seal that, collect that, and then turn that into a fuel that can run a basic diesel engine.
That's why. So this to me sounds very familiar to stuff along the lines of what people like Steve Barber with Upstream Data are doing, because he's also, rather than waste, he's going to oil and gas wells, and they have to vent things like methane, and if you vent or flare methane, that's infinitely worse than just like venting or flaring like carbon dioxide, like the carbon, or rather the warming effect in general of methane, and for our planet is much worse with methane than just carbon dioxide. And so he's able to capture the methane, convert it to CO2, which is like 1/80th the warming effect, and in turn take what would have been like a carbon tax for a lot of these wells and turn it into a net positive instead of a net negative. So it's very interesting to see these types of things playing out in different areas that I may not have connected before, but same idea. What all you're doing is you're incentivizing people to find the most efficient uses of power, right? Trying to capture every bit of power that they can and use it in an efficient way. And you have that buyer of last resort to incentivize that behavior. So it's fantastic to hear.
I think the cool thing that's coming out of this right now is the byproduct from a lot of these processes is also a nice organic fertilizer. And so what we're seeing with potash prices going up, fertilizer prices, again, a petroleum-based product, we're able to create that fertilizer out of these food to waste or these waste to energy projects as well. So it's a bit of a double whammy. And there's an energy waste company, a fund that I work with. It's an energy waste fund, and the founder of the fund, he put it to me in a way that I think about it. As a miner, we are looking for sub 4-cent power, so we're always chasing that and looking for that, and you want to plug into that. And this kind of energy gives us that. But for these energy producers, they're saying, wow, wait a second, we can get 4 to 6 cents off of this energy we're creating from chicken poop or cow poop or whatever it might be. But when we plug our miners into it, we can be earning 40 to 50 cents a kilowatt hour. So it just changes the paradigm a little bit.
I think the other thing, so, we've talked about the economics of mining with sub 4-cent energy down here. the second order effect for us, and really the greater good, is cleaning the environment. This lake is one of the most beautiful lakes in the world. It hits the top 10 most beautiful lakes in the world on surveys, but it's slowly dying because of all the waste that comes down. So we're about 5,000 feet elevation. The mountains around us and the volcanoes around us are about 8,000 feet. And there are hundreds, if not thousands, of little farms that are around this area that don't farm sustainably. And they've got trash that just is in open landfills, and all that organic waste is seething methane, and it finds its way down into the watershed, into the lake. And this is a natural resource, this lake, and it's a national treasure. So for the first time, we are going to be able to provide economic incentive to create wealth. But the second order effect is we're going to be taking off all that organic waste from running into the lake and contaminating it. So that's kind of really the exciting thing about this whole project, kind of tying it all together. And then, you know, with the school project that we're doing, I mean, we really kind of, we set up nodes, we've set up a node, we've got the Bitcoin miner, they know how to use Bitcoin. So we're really going from zero to full scale Bitcoining here in NHL. So we're super bullish.
I love one thing you said there, that you've created an economic incentive to be more environmentally conscious rather than using a form of coercion to force people into it. You've created this positive feedback loop of hey, if you don't pollute the lake, you can then use that resource to actually be rewarded for that behavior, which then benefits the entire community around this lake.
Yeah, so a really interesting conversation happened yesterday. We were trying to look for a place to do kind of a proof of concept with this organic waste to energy project. We were meeting with a landowner, and we were talking about biodigesters. I mean, it was like within the first 5 minutes of the conversation, we were talking about building a biodigester on his land and bringing organic waste and creating methane as a prototype. And an hour later into the conversation, he tells us that, oh, I've already built 3 biodigesters and they're not being used. So, you know, I put a timeout on the conversation because we were about to have lunch, and I said, let's go see these things right now. And sure enough, we go up the mountain. There's these 3 thousands of liter biodigesters that are just sitting there, not even used. They were installed. No one knew how to use it, the purpose was to clean the drinking water to prevent contamination down the mountain. But perfect example of not coercion, but just no incentive to make it happen. And you know, all of us sitting around the table were like, okay, this is the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Let's go see these things. And we've got 3 empty biodigesters that are ready to be used.
Right across the street, because they already separate the organic and non-organic waste. And they take their organic waste and they're literally taking it through the decomposition process out in the open, and that's right across the street from these biodigesters that are set up and ready and vented. So it's just a matter of what's the incentive. Well, before it was let's get sewage and have clean drinking water, and that's, you know, really the guy did it to get elected, right? He wanted to have a project, but then when he wasn't there anymore, nobody finished the project. Now we're like, wait a second, if you do this, you can create electricity, right, that can be used to power this community, and you probably have enough here to even start mining Bitcoin with excess electricity that can go into maybe actually setting up the sewage system and helping with the roads and just really get things moving. So that incentive is now there for them, and they're totally psyched. It's cool.
Awesome.
And Ben, I'm sorry, I am going to have to bow out real quick to make my meeting, but the reason I'm bowing out, and I think this is important for the discussion, is we're in an indigenous area of Guatemala, so we're very conscious about what we're doing. And so I'm going to meet with indigenous leaders to make sure that they understand what we're doing and make sure that the entire community is involved. So thanks for this opportunity. Bill and the girls are going to stay here and answer any questions. You're in capable hands. Thanks so much.
Patrick, thank you. I appreciate your time. Awesome. And I guess I'll open it up to Pastorcoin, Deniz, Gandalf, if you have thoughts or questions for anybody down at Bitcoin Lake regarding what they're talking about.
Yeah, I was gonna say to Patrick, but he left. I ran a a seminar called The Christian Case for Bitcoin. Before I knew, he wrote a book called The Christian Case for Bitcoin. And I'm getting messages. So pass this message on. I'm getting messages from random people saying, hey, I just bought your book. It's really good. And so let him know that I'm making sales for him. And, you know, I'm glad to serve in that way. But I'm bullish on the conviction of Bitcoiners, like, to do this kind of thing. I remember when Patrick was planning this out, he was sending messages in our group and stuff saying, I'm, you know, going to go to Guatemala and do this thing. And here he is actually doing it. And to see the fruit of that conviction is super encouraging. And the parallels, you know, with the church are unmistakable. I mean, the church started with, you know, Jesus Christ, 12 guys, one killed himself because he was a traitor. Now you're down to 11. But what ends up happening is this thing blows up, and it's just community by community, one place at a time, one person at a time. And to see the conviction in the hearts of Bitcoiners and the belief, this is unlike any crypto. You know, I'm a pastor, so I can't say SHIT coin. That's not, I'm not allowed to do that. I mean, I guess I could, but I won't. There's actually a Greek word called Skuvala, which means the same thing. So I'll call it Skuvala coins. You don't see this in Skuvala coins, this type of thing, only in Bitcoin, because Bitcoin is you know, the only way when it comes to money. So yeah, I'm bullish on Bitcoin communities. I'm bullish on people. I mean, you guys are like Bitcoin missionaries in a sense. And that's bullish because you don't see that anywhere else. I mean, I guess you do have US dollar missionaries, but that's more of a military industrial complex where it's, you know, bathed in the blood of innocence, which is evil and wicked. But in Bitcoin, what you see is people going in the communities, adding value, adding, creating, you know, life-giving systems, really. I mean, who would have thought that Bitcoin could fix a lake, for crying out loud? So that's bullish.
That's incredible. Awesome. Dennis, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, what you guys are doing over there it's amazing. I think what a lot of people would ask you guys would be, what's the path towards legal tender over there in Guatemala? Is it, because I know with Bukele, he was looking at it back in like 2016, 2017, and it finally happened in 2021. Do you see sort of the same path going forward over there, or is it more complicated, and do you think it has to be more of like a roundabout type of way?
I mean, listen, I'll give as much because we've been discussing this, and we've got a couple of guys from Guatemala City that spend time in the political circles and have been, you know, there are things that are passing through. I think what's interesting is that what I've heard is that, you know, there is reciprocity between these countries. And so, you know, they can actually, legal tender should go back and forth. And because El Salvador has created a legal tender, technically speaking, there shouldn't be really a problem here. I know there's like, you know, the difference between how they look at a currency, and they're trying to figure out what that regulation looks like. But at this point right now, it's just, this is a pretty like open country. Like in this lake region, they're kind of doing their thing. There's not a lot of overhanded regulation. You know, like we can go in and talk to the mayor and have lunch with another mayoral candidate and you know, discuss these things for the community. So at this point right now, that's not coming up. I think the idea is to kind of keep it low and just keep moving along. And you know, the people, you fill the pipeline up, and as the people are going, there's not much they can really do about it if people are using it. I know that didn't answer the question, but it's not a problem and an issue right now.
Samson Mao had some thoughts on that too, where you could kind of just to eliminate things like capital gains and regulations, and he said something along the lines of treating it in Guatemala potentially as a foreign currency, thus not treating it with capital gains.
That's exactly. I think that's the conversation. It is a currency right now because it is a currency of another country. But yeah, technically, this is a currency, which also, I mean, that relates to the way they're thinking about things in the U.S. I mean, it's not an asset. I mean, they're looking at it that way. It is an asset, but it is a legal tender in another country, so it is in fact a currency. So it really shouldn't be that much of a problem.
It needs to be treated as such in enough places that the world can no longer, go by that same set of rules as they have been treating it so far. But we'll see how quickly we get there. I'll let Gandalf jump in here too if you have anything else to add.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's amazing what people are doing. Like Pastorcoin said, like it's amazing seeing Bitcoiners go into different communities around the world, not only their own, but like, going to foreign countries and trying to improve those. It's almost like we fixed the money and now that's allowing us to fix the world, which is awesome. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I missed this before or not. The audio from Bitcoin Lake's a bit patchy sometimes, but so are you guys already mining there, or are you looking to set up mining operations?
So back in March, I came down and did a pre-trip before bringing these two down. And our first miner we plugged in was at the town hall. And you can go in, and if you go on to Bitcoin Lake probably has it, but you can see it in Twitter. And we literally put it up on a windowsill because that was the only place where we could get internet connection and had electricity. That's been running since March, and it's just churning away. It's pretty cool. We have one that we plugged in at a school, and they ran it for a couple of weeks, and then found out that they were on one of the highest electricity ranges, and their bill, like they were paying 70 cents a kilowatt, but they bounced above their limit, and they had a really high bill. So they unplugged that. We're going through the approval to get internet connection at the wastewater treatment plant, and we're going to plug 2 in down there, 2 S9s to run. We're doing studies on the gas, and we're working on getting a portable generator. And then eventually the idea is to bring an F-17 down that we have, and the girls can talk about those donations, and run that and begin that going. We have 2 other minor drops that happened today. One's going over to an NGO over on the coast, and the other one's going into Guatemala City with somebody that has connections with the energy producers down here in the country. And then we've also dropped miners in Zimbabwe and South Africa. The miners aren't physically there, but we've set up mining pools through them with Slush Pool, and we're plugging them in at the electricity of the school, and they're hashing while they figure out how they're actually going to run them in their mines. So I mean, in their countries. So that's kind of where we are right now.
Nice, awesome to hear you guys are using Slush Pool. I was gonna ask what pool are you using. Have you guys checked out Brains OS Plus? Not to get too shilly, but it's a product made by Brains, same people who do Slush Pool, and yeah, you basically just get more hash rate for the same amount of power draw, or you can tune your machine to use less electricity if you need to. If you're in a place where it's electricity is very expensive, you can sort of increase or go for max efficiency. Yeah, so check that out if you haven't already. Runs on S9s, runs on S17s.
Nice, that's awesome. What I'll do is maybe I'll let you guys at Bitcoin Lake any final thoughts, or maybe if the girls really quick you were saying about donations.
Well, you kind of touched on it already, but we have our miners running to Zimbabwe and South Africa. You got a little excited. Yeah.
All good. Reiterate maybe.
Yeah, we had an energy company actually donate us a couple of S17s and S9 miners that are used, and so what we did is we cleaned them, we refurbished them, put it back together, and we've had a couple running in my dad, and so it's been running like in our apartment and stuff. And those mining pools are obviously going to Zimbabwe, South Africa, and we have a couple more that we would like to fix up and send to other communities. Yeah, because it's been cool to kind of prove that we can extend the life of like the miners. Because I think it was said that they would only last 1.6 years, but we've proved that they go past that by taking them apart, cleaning them, and just maintaining it, and they mine Bitcoin just as good, and we can donate them to other communities now, which is really cool. Yeah, we've got like 6-year-old miners that are like fully hashing right now. So, yeah.
So what you're telling me is that the Digiconomist is not factually correct in saying that the life cycle of a miner is 1.6 years.
Yeah, clearly, I mean, yeah, clearly we're just proving that, I mean, they're saying it's unsustainable, but we're proof right here that these miners are so lasting so much longer than they thought.
Yeah, they've paid for this entire project been paid for by mining Bitcoin on used miners that they cleaned up, got back hashing. And we actually, I had somebody that actually exchanged one of the F-17s, one of the first ones they fixed, and we traded it for 5 S9s because the S9s are better to drop into these communities. I refer to it as like mycelium, the spores. We're dropping spores into the communities, and it's just growing. It ignites and gets people excited. And as my friend from Waste Energy Fund says, Bitcoin's the fuel for innovation, and we're seeing that happen down here in this little town. So it's cool.
I love that. Kudos, you guys. That's super incredible. There's already people chiming in. Don't question Digiconomist. He almost got a degree, so which is awesome. Anybody watching this not super familiar with Digiconomist, he's basically the reason for all of the Bitcoin mining FUD that you see anywhere in any like mainstream media publication. It's his shoddy research that is often quoted, the same stuff that basically said that the world Bitcoin would be using all of the world's power by like 2020, and a lot of terrible stats that it would raise the temperature of the earth by 2 degrees within a few years, and just terrible research that shows zero understanding of how Bitcoin actually functions and scales. So I'm glad that you guys are out there practically on the ground doing things that are actively proving that shoddy research to be wrong. So thank you guys. That's so fantastic. I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give another rotation here. I'm going to jump now to Gandalf, because Gandalf, I believe you're in a time zone that is, you're probably on the later end of things. So I'm going to jump to you for your reason for being bullish first, and then we'll round out with Pastorcoin and Deniz afterwards. So Gandalf, what are you feeling, man? What's got you excited this week?
So yeah, I'm, like I said before, I guess I'm relatively new to Bitcoin. So this is like, I did hold some Bitcoin during 2019 and the March 2020 crash, but I wasn't really paying attention to it. I just kind of had it. I was looking at stock. I was trading stonks at the time. But so this is my first, like, sort of, other than last summer, this feels a lot more bearish. It's my first big capitulation, and watching a shitcoin collapse to zero. It's also my first time, I've heard the Bitcoin, the sort of the older or the more experienced Bitcoin maximalists saying, like, shitcoins go to zero, and they trend to zero against Bitcoin. But this is my first time experiencing that. And the main reasons that I hear people getting into Bitcoin are, like, one, they come for the greed, whether that's in Bitcoin or shitcoins, and then they stay for the revolution. Or two, like, yeah, they shitcoined, got wrecked, and realized that, why Bitcoin is different, and then now they're sort of a Bitcoin only. So I'm kind of bullish on the bear market. I'm bullish on shitcoins going to zero, because I think that's going to bring a whole new influx of Bitcoin only proponents, and yeah, that's a good thing in my eyes.
Yeah, I will speak to your summary of the kind of cycle of how people come to Bitcoin only. We've seen a lot of it just in these past few days, right? Like I collected a handful of tweets. I tweeted out the other day that it was the season of shitcoiners converting to Bitcoin only, and eventually we'll have a new round of pre-coiners that dive into a bunch of altcoins, get destroyed, and then complete the same path, right? But there was some again, like I just a collection. I wish I could show them on the screen right now, but it's not working for me. But again, people like the other day, done with Ethereum, $20 in fees to transfer out all Bitcoin from now on. Thinking of selling all my crypto for Bitcoin. I was already on the path of becoming a maxi after reading the Bitcoin Standard. what is happening these days in the crypto world is a demonstration that the problem is not the currency. The problem is the human being. Stable coins, staking, bullshit. Stop trying to create value out of thin air. Only energy and work create value. Only Bitcoin. And then I'm only buying Bitcoin. Lesson learned. And a lot of it, coming in the aftermath of this Luna debacle and people trying to create value out of nothing, 20% staking for basically giant Ponzi schemes. And once again, that's kind of the cost of tuition, right? Like that's a lot of people, they end up paying this tuition of understanding what's real and what's not. But there's many more that will likely have to pay that cost of tuition. The encouraging thing, I think, this time around, this is probably the first bull market where I've seen a large number of people walk in the door and very quickly go to Bitcoin only, like in a matter of months. I haven't really seen that before, like in previous, like 2017, even like through the bear run. Like there was a longer period of time before that, and this time around, and I think it maybe speaks to the quality of the quality and thoughtfulness of content that people are creating, explaining the why of Bitcoin. I think there's a cohesive message in and around why Bitcoin is important and where other things fall short. And as time goes on, that message gets really, really refined so that if you get exposed to it before you start diving down that shitcoin road, you actually gravitate towards it and see it as a more coherent narrative than the constantly shifting narrative of everything else. So I guess in summary, what I'm saying to your point here is, many more people will go down that path, but hopefully it will continue to be shortened due to the continued refinement of that Bitcoin messaging. So I don't know, thoughts?
We've got the best salespeople. Like how many altcoin personalities do you watch and think, I like this guy, he's making sense, or he's a guy I'd like to be more like? No one, right? We've got Michael Saylor. I can say Michael Saylor, even though I already own Bitcoin, he's responsible for making me understand or helping me to start understanding the profoundness of Bitcoin. When you have a guy like that, getting in front of hundreds of thousands or millions of eyeballs all the time. The guy goes on every single podcast that he's ever asked to go on, whether he gets 10 views or he gets 1 million views, he's there hustling, talking about Bitcoin. And that has I think a deeply, with the sort of the reach and the scale of the internet, to take one message and be able to deliver it to millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions of people. You can't understate the profoundness and how important it is to have people like that talking about Bitcoin and the massive influx of new people that it brings to the space and to Bitcoin only, because he's very good at articulating why it's different to everything else.
Pastorcoin, you're going to jump in.
It's sad at the same time, because I have people, close in my life who are currently getting wrecked by NFT ism. I don't know what to even call it. NFT debauchery. So it's sad to see. I'm thankful that I'm thankful for Saifedean Ammous. And I'm thankful for guys like Mike, Gandalf was talking about, these guys that you look up to, that are respectable, that are principled. Just type it, it's frustrating. Just type in Bitcoin on YouTube and all you get is like that, like those faces. You know what I'm talking about? It's brutal. Yeah, oh, Bitcoin's dead, or oh, it's going to a trillion or whatever. It's just all sensationalism. It's all a gimmick. It's all nonsense. And I'm very thankful. The Bitcoin Standard, I listened to it on Audible, and it spoke my love language, because Bitcoin. Okay, I'm not gonna go there because that's my bullish point. So I'll just stop.
Yeah, we'll save it. We'll save it. Dennis, do you have any thoughts about Gandalf's topic? The cycle of pain and then coming back to the truth.
Yeah, I think it. I don't know. It's kind of different now, just because there's still a lot of press, paying attention to Bitcoin right now. It's definitely a lot bigger than, say, 2018, 2019 for sure. Yeah, I think it's sometimes you have to go through a lot of these hardships to realize, oh, I messed up. I should reevaluate this. And a lot of people they just give up. I don't think that's really the way to live life in general, but a lot of people do that just because there's not a lot to look forward to. And I get that. That's kind of what led me down to Bitcoin. Like when I started, I didn't really take it seriously until like beginning of 2019 probably. And then, yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see how things are playing out. And there have been a few like tweets about like self-deletion, or I can't say the actual word on YouTube, but it's I don't know. It's interesting to see it all play out during this time, especially.
I had a question for the girls there. You guys, one, how long have you been learning about Bitcoin? And two, what kind of hurdles have you had in terms of your education? What have you gravitated towards? And was there any bad information that came your way that had to like matrix your way around?
We've both been into Bitcoin for like, I'd say about a year. We first got into it when he went down to Bitcoin Miami, and I would say both of us were very skeptical, kind of, weren't all in, telling them like to shut off, like going on about Bitcoin. But as we like went into it, I think we both kind of opened up and been more receptive to the knowledge that he's used, and we're a lot more into it. Definitely spew. But yeah, no, it's been really fun, like just becoming more, just getting in more into the community of Bitcoin and learning more. And I guess some of the learning curves we've had is probably, we were into shitcoins in the beginning, and then just like getting out of that and then staying just in Bitcoin. That's been one of our learning curves. Well, I mean, I hadn't been into like the crypto space at all up until like last year when we had to figure out something to do for our project, and he got us into it. So I had like really no prior knowledge of like anything else. And so when all you're learning about is like Bitcoin, then like maybe I'm a bit biased, but I think it's pretty reasonable, like justifiable because it's awesome. But yeah, I guess like the biggest challenge is just like he wouldn't shut up about it. And so at first I was like, oh God, it's like taking my dad away from me. But like, I don't know, I've gained a lot of knowledge, a lot of experience, made a lot of connections, and it's definitely like, it's been a cool journey. Yeah. And I guess also we hear a lot about it, and so we obviously, want to go and tell our friends about it. And it's been hard, telling people, and they have the exact same response that we had in the beginning. And, now that when we're at the place that we are, it is frustrating. It's like, oh, we're giving you gold and, you're not listening. So we have a couple friends who are not receptive to it, which is another kind of challenge we've had to go through.
I mean, I'm super excited to hear that, like that you guys seem to have, again, well, you guys seem to be a bit of an example of what I was talking about, where you've come into this space and in a very short amount of time, you've kind of zeroed in on like what the good signal is versus the noise. And I think as you dive into more material and you read and view more videos and listen to more podcasts, rather than make you question that, it'll likely kind of strengthen that base, that conviction that you have. Obviously, like you want to be an adversarial thinker, even in your own, you know, and question everything. Like, don't trust, verify. But that's kind of the ethos of Bitcoin. And I think if you come at it from that angle, then it only solidifies again your thought process on what makes sense, Bitcoin versus the rest. So yeah, it'll be. I'm super bullish on your journey so far, and super excited to see how that progresses, especially doing what you're doing now. So amazing.
Can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
It's so important that this truth is, you can't overstate it. Bitcoin only. You cannot overstate how important this is. When I first started investigating Bitcoin, that's because in 2017, I have a side business called Pooper Scoopers where I pick up dog poop. People pay me exorbitant amounts of money to do it. I don't know why, but I'll take it. So in 2017, I used I downloaded a crypto app or whatever. I don't coin something Square or something, and I seen this little dog coin Doge, and I thought it'd be fun if I took some dog poop money and bought. It was like a penny or something. So I bought this stupid thing, and then I forgot about it. And it's so important that, and this is the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is it's so important that we propagate Bitcoin only, because of the confusion that all these Skuvala coins cause in people's minds. Like for myself, when I started investigating Bitcoin, it was like, well, there's this dog coin I bought so many years ago and this and that. So I'm asking my friends who I know are like crypto people, what do I do? And they're telling me, bro, you got to buy altcoins, and then they moon, and then you buy Bitcoin with the profits from the altcoins. And like, but I'm an idiot. I don't know how to do this. I'm not a good trader. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have time to investigate all this stuff. So, and then the Bitcoin standard came in my life and set me straight. And I was able to discover, oh my gosh, it's not that complicated. It's just get Bitcoin and use it and hold it. It's really that simple. And to see my friends and even family members getting wrecked right now from Skuvala coins and NFTs and all this noise, it's quite sad. But like many have said already, it's a lesson that needs to be learned. So this is a big thing. We cannot. This toxic Bitcoin maximalism is good for humanity.
I love that.
I want to touch on the educational piece real quick, because I think it directly relates to this idea of when people figure this out, right? And this is it's a transition I have to make. So, you know, we're conditioned to use traditional finance. And I think the mistake I made when I came into Bitcoin in 2017, because I didn't have the resources available today, was I looked at it as a traditional finance product, right? It's an investment, you know, people lever it up, people do all kinds of crazy stuff. And then you have that whole system pushing on you all of this other digitized fiat crap, right? And that's all that it is. And it's really hard for people to move past that because they hear that all the time. And in the educational systems, like they talk about at schools, these are legacy institutions that are ingrained in that traditional way of thinking, right? So you can't go to a college campus, many traditional college campuses, you can't bring up Keynesian economics. You can't talk about Bitcoin. If you go to a lot of the big blockchain institutes, look who they're funded by. They're funded by foundations. And those foundations are these other alt projects. Right, we even had a major university. They received Bitcoin miners, and the senator tweeted out of the state, "This is a field of dreams moment." We took a tour out to that university, and we wanted to see this Bitcoin mining project. And I met with the people running it, and they focused on a foundation grant that they got to build something. And the guy did it to me. The chain doesn't work. And then they talked about one of the big casinos that gave them some money to run summer programs and educational programs. So that's why, you know, I'm pretty passionate about it, as you can see, and what these girls are doing in the school, really trying to push people to understand it's okay to be Bitcoin only. To your point, we had an opportunity to get donated $500,000 of mining equipment to our school. And I sat down, and then one of the first conversations I had with somebody to help that to go through, the first thing he said to me was, I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, but I understand crypto. And you can imagine that donation never happened. And so these are the obstacles we work through, and we just got to keep plugging away and keep going. But I think what we're seeing right now in the markets and the way the traditional financial markets are unwinding because they got over-levered, and they got over-levered with a lot of these DeFi projects. Right, people are now learning and they're seeing, and now that traditional stuff getting exposed. Because now you're hearing about Citadel and BlackRock, and all these guys are playing, and they're playing the same games they've always been playing, but they're doing it in a space that exposes them, and it happens a lot quicker. So these are really interesting times, and it's good for people to have these types of resources. Thank you for what you do with these sessions.
Love that. That's awesome. I was going to, I'm glad you added that in there. Pastorcoin, I think I'm going to keep it with you now that we've kind of been chatting about Bitcoin Lake. I think I want to do the rotation to you. I'm going to start off by saying that it's interesting with Bitcoin and kind of the ethos and the people around it. When I started in Bitcoin, I'd say I'm still not a religious person. I grew up going to a Catholic school, but I just kind of drifted away from it. But I've definitely come to have more of an appreciation for religious people in the kind of like from a what religion can do for people in a having like a moral compass, because I think a lot of society in a fourth turning kind of way has gotten away from that. They've this kind of fiat culture that we're in is like the peak of excess, and a lot of people have thrown out any sort of moral compass that they might have had in previous generations, and because of that, there's been a degradation in quality of life for a lot of people. I think a lot of people are constantly seeking, like, what purpose is my life serving? And there's kind of a general emptiness. And I think, Bitcoin has brought me some of that purpose, but also, again, an appreciation for, religious people. Whereas I think as when I had drifted away from religion previously, there was almost like a pent up, almost like animosity that I felt towards religion before, and I can't really explain that. But now I feel like a lot of that has subsided, and I'm more a lot of the religious people that I know tend to be quite kind and caring and understanding. So I'll preface that, and then I'll pass it to you, and I'll just simply ask, why are you bullish this week? And I'll let you take us on a journey.
Well, now I feel like I'm in a counseling session that I gotta counsel this brother now. The thing is, truth. Jesus said, "You'll know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Anything that is true is going to, on the merits of its being, lead you towards freedom. That's just the facts. Bitcoin is a truth protocol. It is just true. It does true things. That's all it knows how to do. And thus it leads you towards more freedom. And so it's not the first time I've heard somebody say, I wasn't really religious, and then I got into Bitcoin. I've even heard people say they were atheists, they got into Bitcoin, and then it led them to God. And I think it's because there is that fingerprint of God in all things which are true, and Bitcoin is true. And so the truth will set you free. So why am I bullish? I'm bullish because of freedom. I'm bullish because of the Bible and because of Bitcoin. And, I'm preaching through the book of Genesis. I just got through with Noah's Ark, doing some research, and scholars believe it took him about 75 years to build the ark. In a sense, Noah lived through the longest bear market there was, 75 years of building, just building, when the world around him was saying, Noah, what are you doing? Why are you building this thing? For what? What rain? What flood? Who is this God that is speaking to you that's saying he's going to destroy the world by water? But and that's noise. That's altcoins. That's NFTs. That's, the noise. But he was focused on the ark, and he built and he built and he built. And eventually that, first drop of judgment fell from heaven, and it was game over. If you weren't on the ark, you were wrecked, quite literally. And so I'm bullish on Bitcoin because it's a truth protocol, and because it's principled. And when I said earlier that the Bitcoin Standard book was speaking my love language, was because, and maybe it was a supernatural thing, but I felt at times that God was really revealing to me that Bitcoin is it's two things. One, it's a judgment. It's the water which fell from heaven and destroyed the wicked on the earth. It's the judgment on central bankers. It's the judgment on, all the blood that has been shed because of this fiat system that's destroyed so many people's lives in different ways, and is currently enslaving so many people. It's a judgment on that, and it is a ark for your average pleb, your average person, to jump on and float atop of the judgment. See, what's happening with Bitcoin in a sense is it's actually being elevated on top of the judgment of the fiat system, is it not? It's the fiat system is being destroyed, and Bitcoin is just kind of floating there and rising with it and above it, and eventually those waters will subside, and we will be in a wonderful Bitcoin Standard new creation, if you will. So the parallels are unmistakable, and yeah, that's why I'm bullish. I'm bullish because of time preference in Bitcoin. I'm bullish because conviction in Bitcoin. I'm bullish because Bitcoin represents so many of the foundational principles of the Christian faith, and these things which God's word tells us to do, such as, the righteous man leaves an inheritance for his children's children. You can't really do that with fiat. Bitcoin allows you to do that. And so, anyways, I'm just bullish on the future, like Gandalf. I'm bullish on the bear market because it's time to build. Let's put our hammer to the nail, get some gopher wood, and build this ark, because it is a gift from the Lord God Almighty. I'm thankful to you, BTC Sessions, for having me. I watch the show all the time, listen to it all the time, so it's kind of cool to be on it. I'm a little bit, anyways, yeah, that's why I'm bullish.
I love that. What a great metaphor too. In particular, the 70 to 75 year bear market, because they can feel that long, and it is the best time to build, right? Like the bull runs come because of the work done in the bear market, right? Like a degree of the bull runs that we get are deserved because of what's been built prior. Not all of it. Sometimes, you get a little irrationally exuberant. Like I'd say 2017, there's, the degenerates started piling in after a while, and not all of that was deserved. This time around, it feels like, maybe we came up shy of what was deserved based on what was built since 2017. But regardless, the same principles remain. When the excitement fades away, it's time to put your head down, do some work. And when everything is exciting, like you said, that's the noise. That's what you have to ignore. You got to keep yourself on point. You got to keep yourself on the straight and narrow. And I think there are a lot of similarities in what you've compared here. And it is an arc of sorts, right? And there is room for everyone. The beauty in this is that the arc will continue to be there for anyone. It's just when they want to step foot on board. There is no, in essence, there isn't a time limit for the ARC. There will be a time when a lot of people are rushing onto the ARC very, very quickly. And some people that neglect to get on it sooner rather than later will be hurt in the process. But in the end, it'll still be there for them. They'll still be able to jump on board, get themselves dry, and pick up the pieces. So I love that. I don't know. Does anybody have thoughts around Pastorcoin's beautiful sermon there?
I don't think it's a coincidence that there are so many similarities, and I don't share this often, but you've inspired me, Pastor. I refer to Bitcoin as a digital spirituality, and I think it has the ability, as we move, people from all races, all backgrounds, doesn't matter political. If you get Bitcoin, all of that stuff falls away, and it allows us to have these love-based connections that are all about doing good. And at the end of the day, God is good, and God is love, and God is truth, and know the truth, and the truth will set you free. This is a form of truth, and it doesn't have to be, dictated by some type of central authority. And sadly, religion was co-opted by central authorities to run people and manage people. And this really breaks the religious barriers down, I think, because we're just looking to do good. And we all have our way of doing good and helping humanity. And Bitcoin really inspires that and gives optimism. And it is an arc of sport. So it gets me bullish. I'm excited about it.
I want to touch on something you just said there, because I think that came back to something earlier I said to Pastor, was my feeling of animosity. It maybe perhaps wasn't directed at religion itself, but rather how people wielded it, right? That co-opting and perversion of that can so often come in instances where somebody takes it. It's a tool, and it can be wielded in different ways, much like
you
Bitcoin.
Can say it's a shitcoin. You can say it. It's a form of shitcoin, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you're taking a truth and you're creating something to try to make other people do it the way you do it, and it doesn't really do good. So,
right.
Yeah.
That's a good point, right? It takes the original intention, perverts it in some way to benefit a few, right? And that's what we see with shitcoins. And yeah, I think wow, this was a therapy session for me. Got right down to the deep of it. And yeah, I think that's part of it is the aversion to people taking something that on its face was meant for good, and then was co-opted in a way that benefits a few and impacts a lot of other people in a negative way. And I think that was the source of my animosity there. But then as I step back and I say, well, on a base layer, it just gives that moral compass and is meant to bring people together in a way. I can look at it differently now through a different lens. And I think Bitcoin allowed me to do that. And while I still wouldn't consider myself a religious person, I have a newfound appreciation for those who are, and a much better understanding of that. So yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah. I don't know if this is right, but I'll say it anyways. I think Jesus would have probably been a proponent of Bitcoin. Now, of course, Jesus, I believe he's alive. That's the whole idea of Christianity. But if he were walking the streets today, I think he would be a proponent of Bitcoin, because we see in the scriptures, I've seen so many Bitcoiners post the picture of him flipping tables in the temple and chasing out the money changers. I mean, what is that? That's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is the flipper of the money changers tables. Bitcoin is comes into the central bank and says, I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to destroy you. Get out, leave. You're not welcome here. We want honesty. We want integrity. We want fairness. We want something that is moral and good. and the Bitcoin network is all those things. From my perspective, Bitcoin is a moral imperative. If you're going to call yourself a Christian, you have to care about these things. You know, Jesus said, love your neighbor as yourself. And so the more I learned about Bitcoin, the more I realized it's not loving my neighbor to continue to prop up this system that is stealing from them, that is destroying their lives, that's destroying marriages. You know, this stuff goes really deep. And so it's super important. And that's why I'm on this sort of crusade to help to orange pill as many Christians as possible. And it is sad, and I hear it so much from people, how the church has, you know, been, you know, they perceive it as something that's been co-opted, and in many instances it become a centralized thing. But the idea of the church was to be a decentralized pillar of truth, not a centralized pillar of oppression. And so I hope to, you know, help Christians to see that, and to use Bitcoin for, yes, Bitcoin casts out the corruption, to use it for God's glory and the good of humanity.
I think that's great. I'll open it up to either Gandalf or Deniz. I don't know if either of you are religious at all, but curious to hear what you think about kind of this, what to me appeared as a counterintuitive connection between religion and Bitcoin. And I'm just wondering kind of your thoughts, where you sit, and if you have any thoughts on the again, the wonderful sermon that we just had.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do see religions become co-opted, like day to day. It's the same thing with Bitcoin. It's like all these Bitcoin futures ETFs, these spot ETFs, they're just like synthetic Bitcoin that you don't necessarily have any control over. So you're kind of outsourcing the whole point of Bitcoin at that point. And it's kind of the same thing with religions in general. You're kind of outsourcing it to the people who are preaching to you, but you're not actually reading the scripture. So it's sort of like, dude, you didn't do the homework. You don't actually, yeah, you have to know like what God's word is, I guess, from, you know, the source at that point. But yeah, I mean, at this point, Bitcoin is what, like 50% off from 58K forever. So you could get one ticket right now. You could get a Satoshi, and you have all the time, I guess, like you guys were saying with, you know, it's an arc that's there that you can stop by like all the time and continue to keep buying more, or just let it sit or whatever. But at least if you have some, you're going to be more prepared than the people who don't have any at that point.
Yeah, great. Gandalf, any final thoughts on what Pastor had to say?
I mean, I love what he's saying. I'm not religious at all, but I can definitely share some of the values from the stories, like the Bible. I haven't read the Bible, but just from what I've heard people talk about. So I don't think I have anything eloquent or valuable to say as it relates to Bitcoin and religion, but I'm loving what I'm hearing, and I'm learning. Because I would say in the past I was like anti-religion. I thought it was stupid, and I just had a very negative view of religion. But that's suddenly changing as I've become, not just with Bitcoin, but I think just older and more mature.
Yeah, that I'd agree there. I know that Bitcoin Lake, you guys, your computer is dying right now. I think they're about to drop out. But again, shout out to everybody at Bitcoin Lake. Thank you for being here. If we don't get them back, but I think I'm going to round out this topic, and we'll get our final reason for being bullish. Pastor, loved your thoughts. Thank you so much for that. And Deniz, friend, you are up. Final reason for being bullish, and I'll pass it to you. What's on your mind, friend? Let me know.
Yeah, I mean, it's not as serious as everyone else's, but I did notice during, I guess around 2018, a lot of companies were announcing that, oh yeah, we'll accept Bitcoin now, and then, you know, they couldn't handle the bear market, so you didn't really hear from them again, or they opted out of accepting it altogether. Like Companies like Wikipedia in general come to mind, but and Firefox. Can't believe that happened. Mozilla, but yeah, there are companies continuing to announce that they're accepting it. Whether or not they're holding it is like a whole nother conversation. But yeah, I see that as bullish, even though the price keeps going down. And I think a lot of people kind of, forget about that stuff. Like they stop caring. It's the same thing with like a lot of the other announcements that have been going on. Like I just mentioned the ETFs earlier, but Australia did release 2 ETFs, and I didn't really notice anyone talking about it. So we don't care about companies adopting it anymore. We don't care about ETFs anymore, which I think that's kind of bullish too, because it's like we're more focused on like what actually contributes to the ecosystem in general. But yeah, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I think I'd echo, like, if in general, think of anything that's happened over the past, say, 2 years, and think of, had we heard a single one of those news stories in 2016, 2017, even, how insane it would have been to hear not even just El Salvador, but like just countries mentioning Bitcoin as like a passing thought of maybe we'll do something favorable in regards to regulation around Bitcoin. Like that would be a headline news story. We used to, the people that have been around for a while that, maybe were sitting on Reddit and everything, you would have posts that would be the top of Reddit around like a store accepting Bitcoin. There's a dude who was at a football game who held up a Bitcoin QR code, and it got so much attention that he basically paid off his college tuition just because he had a QR code that was a Bitcoin address. So like I guess I would say, in effect, I agree. It seems like we're just numb to things, but that's because so many good things have been happening that you no longer treat it as this like monumental event. Like we literally have, the first nation state making Bitcoin legal tender. You have de facto legal tender in Madeira, which is off the coast of Portugal. You have Honduras, Prospera, basically same kind of deal, where they're basically beating El Salvador to the punch on Bitcoin bonds. You have discussion in and around other areas. You have Mexico, that is, albeit it's a roundabout kind of bullshitty thing that likely won't pass, but you still have it being presented as part of a bill to try and shoehorn Bitcoin in as a potential legal tender down the line. You have all these things from nation state adoption. You have all of these on-ramps. You had literally Jack Mallers come out and say, hey, 1 in 6 point of sale terminals on the planet now could, like with a single click upgrade, could accept Bitcoin. And the implications of that in the long run, especially for anybody that is using or living on Bitcoin, it is monumental. And that announcement got kind of a collective shrug from Bitcoiners around the globe, literally saying that 1/6 of point of sale terminals on the globe could accept Bitcoin now. And again, to have like such a non-response to that, that's why I think it's particularly bullish, because a lot of people, we were spoiled by the El Salvador announcement, but also now all of these announcements are almost, if they don't have that day one impact, they're like sleeper announcements, because they take time to actually manifest and have that impact you know, like not all terminals are tomorrow going to have Bitcoin functionality, but they could very easily. And so you're going to see kind of this natural ground up swell of those that see value in Bitcoin will start to want to accept Bitcoin and hold on to it rather than seeing it as a marketing gimmick of, hey, we're going to accept Bitcoin. We just want dollars. We want more people in the door, but we're going to say, come spend your Bitcoin here in this like counterintuitive 2015 kind of way. We now will get that grassroots, oh no, I don't want dollars anymore. I want Bitcoin. And it's in an environment where people now use the term fiat, where people understand that money printer go burr, like they all of these memes where it's now kind of common knowledge. And I think, again, you're right, there's all this stuff happening and everybody's just kind of and that's bullish to me, because it means the shit that's getting announced right now is not priced in, not in the least. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I was at Walmart today and buying some diapers, and this lady, one of the workers, comes up to me and she's talking about the Walmart MasterCard, and if you apply today, you'll get like 10 or 15 bucks or whatever. And I was like, no, why would I do that? I showed her I have a little Shakepay sticker. I showed her my Shakepay Visa. I'm like, I pay with this. Why would I want the Walmart card? She said, well, you get like 15 bucks or whatever. I said, yeah, but this gives me Bitcoin. And she's like, you should have saw there's the glazed look on her. I'm like, man, we're early, because she was like not even impressed by that. I'm like, well, how are you not impressed? So yeah, that's super bullish. I was at the mall yesterday. They do like this cop thing. You can go and see the guns and stuff. So we brought the kids there, and one of the cops saw my pleb hat, and he was like, hey, are you a Bitcoiner? I was like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, are you a pleb? He's like, yeah, I am. So I'm like, hey, come to our Bitcoin meetup. So like, it's crazy being out in the world, because in one place you get this lady who's trying to sell you on more fiat, and I'm like, no, I'm getting Bitcoin. Why would I want your stupid card when I can just get Bitcoin instead? And then you got a police officer in the mall who's like kind of whispering, hey, are you Bitcoiners? Like, you know. So like it's wild out there. Like, we're in this place between, you know, the death of fiat and hyper Bitcoinization, and we get to live in this time. And it's going to be great to sit around a campfire with my grandchildren and say, hey, you know, kids, there was a time when I went to Walmart and they tried to impress me with a fiat card, and you know, this house we live in, I bought with these free sats from this company, Shakepay. Can you believe it? So
yeah, the juxtaposition of I shook my phone that day and I got 500 sats, and they were trying to get me to go into debt by offering me only $15, which at that point will barely buy like a 5-cent candy.
Right.
That's gonna be the greatest comparison for
so you shook your phone and you got 1,000 sats a day? Are you kidding me? Yeah, it happened. They won't believe it. I promise they won't believe it.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I think of that so regularly, and I mean, I even think of like, just with the topic, for those that are watching outside of Canada that don't understand what we're talking about, Shakepay, basically you shake your phone every single day and you get free sats, but if you get on a streak, you can build up to getting 1,000 sats every single day. And so at the original threshold, and it's still insane to me that this was the case, but back early on when it started, the top threshold that you could get was 20,000 sats a day to wake up and just be like, and shake your phone. 20,000 sats. Like, that's already insane to me. Imagine, like, even just a decade out, thinking back to 1,000 sats. It's going to be, man, they were literally like, even I think I capped out at 10,000, but I mean, you know, for at the time, what that was like at the peak in Canada in Canadian dollars, that was like $8 a day. I was technically getting to, not at the time when I was actually shaking, but in the long run, every day to wake up for half a second and be like, shake, 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 $8. There you go. What? Like, and the dollars are going to be meaningless and are increasingly meaningless over time. But it's just so funny to think that that's where we're at. But Gandalf, I'll let you chime in. Sorry for taking up your talk time.
No, it's all good. This reminded me today. I was gonna make a meme. I saw a Bitcoin company saying they were gonna be giving away. It was like, post an invoice, we'll send you 100 sats or something like that. And I think 100 sats is like 6 cents, right? And those replies were exploding with Bitcoiners like all taking the time to send an invoice to get the 100 sats. Can you imagine if like MasterCard said, "Hey, post your Visa card number and we'll give you 6 cents towards your bill"? Nobody is going to reply to that, right? So even though 100 sats are worth 6 cents of purchasing power today, I think we can already, like, Bitcoiners already know the future value of Bitcoin. And so that's why they're hungry for those 6 cents in sats. Whereas like not even like just normal people are going to spend their time to reply to a tweet to get 6 cents.
Well, and to your point, that's because the public at large inherently understands the future value of that fiat, right? Everybody knows 6 cents doesn't buy anything now, and it's going to be even less in the future. Why even make the time to do that? Whereas people that understand Bitcoin, they understand those 100 sats, whatever it may be, that is significant in the future. And it seems stupid right now to be picking up pennies to somebody on the outside who doesn't understand. But to somebody who's been in Bitcoin or has just done a tiny amount of research on Bitcoin's history, is looking at that going, "Oh shit, 100 sats. Sure, I'll take it. Free? Of course. Why not?"
Damn right. Yeah. And I mean, I think you make some great points. Obviously, I wasn't paying attention to Bitcoin before the end of 2020. So I've only lived through, as a proper Bitcoiner, like a full crazy bull market. And I don't know how it compares to the 2017 one, which I was paying attention to it, but I didn't own Bitcoin and I thought it was a bubble, tulip mate. I was like super middle of the bell curve. Like it's open source. Anyone can make their own coin. Like, why does Bitcoin have value? Like, all this stuff. Anyway, but I think a big thing with the news not seeming to care about the news. I think in end of 2020 and the beginning of 2021, we were used to like news pump, right?
Mm-hmm.
The pump is fun. So when you get news no pump, it's like, meh, we want the pump. I also think we live in the future. We see things like, I guess, like, understanding Bitcoin means you understand a lot of about how the fiat world works. And so you can see things coming from 2, 3, 4, 5 years away. And when they happen, you're just like, oh, it's inflation's 10%. Yeah, that's what we said would happen. Like, yeah, that's normal. That's what we thought would happen. Whilst the rest of the world's like, oh my God, inflation's 10%. We could have never seen this coming.
Nobody saw this coming.
Yeah. So yeah, I think that's the main two things. Yeah, we've been decent. We need a bear market to go on a dopamine fast, and then I guess when the next bull market comes, we can get high on dopamine again.
I think Bitcoin teaches a lot of people who aren't religious about faith. If you become a Bitcoin maximalist, especially, because faith is the substance of things not seen in the. Faith is. See, here I'm quoting scripture. I'm butchering it. Faith is. I forgot exactly the way the scripture goes, but anyways, faith is the substance of things not seen. So the reason why I'm shaking my phone every day for 1,000 sats, which I think 1,000 sats is what, like, how much is 1,000 sats worth nowadays?
It's like 30 cents, right? I think we're at $3,000. It's 3,500 sats per dollar or something.
Okay. So 30 cents is insane. Like BTC Sessions was saying, for like a normal person, why would you bother shaking your phone for 30 cents? But it's not 30 cents. Those with faith see. There he goes. Did you forget? You're muted.
Yeah, no, I remembered. I was just seeing if I could see how much.
Okay.
How much? I'm not. So I lost my streak in Miami. I was so upset. I was just so busy with like doing everything and seeing everybody that like I it had been 24 hours and I unfortunately just. But so what is that? It's not easily showing me a conversion. Anyways, it's
I think it's about 30 cents.
It's around that, yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's seeing the future in the sense of saying like it's not about today, it's about the future. And when you understand Bitcoin, you almost begin to live as if what has not transpired has already transpired. And that's what faith is. It's living it's believing a promise and living as if it's true, even if what's happening around you is saying, well, it's not true yet, at least, or it may not be fully fulfilled true. And that's essentially what faith is. Christians, we believe Jesus is coming back. Well, he's not back yet, but we believe it, and we're living as if that's the case, because that's faith. You believe something, you live as if it's true. And Bitcoin, I'm seeing it in irreligious Bitcoiners. I'm like, man, you guys got faith. You believe, you have the conviction, and your actions are testifying to the reality that you actually believe this, which is why we shake our phones like maniacs and collect 100 sats here. I got some games on here that give me like 5 sats a day, but I'm bored, I play a game, I get 5 sats the next day. So it's just stacking, believing, and it's a beautiful thing to see unfold, and it's going to transform the world. It is transforming the world.
Yeah, I think it's great. It's yeah, man. I think again, to Dennis's point, there's so much going on. There's so much indifference to all of the incredible things that are going on. And I mean, we just kind of touched on the geopolitical and like the companies accepting Bitcoin and kind of some of those macro type things, but we didn't even early in the show, we were talking about the actual infrastructure being built, the open source projects, and the people just giving their time to build incredible stuff and make it more accessible to everyone. None of that is, in my opinion, priced in, or at least to the extent that it's grown over the past 5 years since 2017. Like Seed Signer isn't priced in. All of the privacy developments aren't priced in. Lightning is sure as hell not priced in. There's so much that is not priced in it's and then the world will be initially surprised that Bitcoin goes up, and then give it a year and it'll be a couple of years and it'll be obvious. Hindsight is 2020, but everybody else will have claimed to have seen it perfectly as it was happening, including Jim Cramer. So we'll see.
Okay, hold on. When does Peter Schiff finally say I was wrong? Is that ever going to happen?
Never.
No, I don't think so. I don't think he can't. Like, he's doubled, tripled, quadrupled, quintupled down so many times over that. And it's funny because it's like, he'll say, this is it. This is the time it goes to zero so many times. And then it's like, he just ignores when people bring it up. Like, you can't just say, well, you said this then, and you were hideously wrong by orders of magnitude. I don't think he ever capitulates. I think he's getting older. Like, I think he just lives his life convinced that it's coming. And unfortunately, that'll probably be like the rest of his life. He'll just hold that conviction. Yeah, I don't know. Like, his son seems to be somewhat in the know. Some people speculate as to whether or not that's them playing a game with the public, but
he's 100% engagement farming. I mean, Peter Schiff with he I'm not saying he doesn't believe what he's saying, but the way he beats the drum over and over, he's a smart guy. He's got businesses. He understands how sales and marketing works, and he knows that talking negatively about Bitcoin gets him attention. And if that's good for him, then he should be absolutely doing that. You can't hate that. You can disagree with his viewpoint and think that, think the opposite, which we all do, but can't hate his playing the game.
Okay, one last question. Since we're talking about the news and how it's not really affecting price movement and stuff like that, if Peter Schiff comes out and says, I was wrong, Bitcoin is the way, does that affect the price?
No, I don't think anyone that could move the price really cares about him. It's not like Bitcoin. It's not like we're not gonna like Peter Schiff, do the Peter Schiff smash buy. And I don't think it's gonna move. It's gonna the people aren't gonna go 100x levered long on the Peter Schiff I bought Bitcoin tweet.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Mainly because I don't think many people would have followed a lot of his other, he's got his core base, right? But
Ben, sorry, everyone would go 100x short and sell all their Bitcoin if Peter Schiff came out saying he was full Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, I don't think there'll be any sort of a Schiff pump. I don't know who would be that person. Could there be? I think a large enough nation state coming out again, like actually full legal tender everything. I think like El Salvador obviously didn't have that effect. Like the announcement itself didn't have any effect on price because like the world at large was just kind of clueless to the fact that it even happened, but also they could write it off as it's just El Salvador. I don't think it would happen, but if a large, like G20 nation was like, yo, Bitcoin standard, then that becomes something sizable where it would shock enough people to probably bump the price. Narwhal Tacos in the comments, Trump or Rogan could move price. Probably Rogan could probably have a decent, if he had like a full on like Bitcoin only episode, fully dedicated to basically pumping the shit out of it, not just like an offhanded mention, then maybe that might have a bit of an impact. Trump, yeah, I mean, he's got a good base, like he might, but again, like those types of pumps, those are temporary. The current, it's like the current thing, but for like a stock or like it's people just buy based on that current episode, and that's not kind of really the attention that I care about when it comes to price pumps. It's more, is this a meaningful thing that it will actually have long-lasting implications? And that's why I like, kind of to Dennis's point earlier, these sneaky announcements that, well, not sneaky, but like they're just these sleeper announcements that their impacts are going to gradually bolster all of the infrastructure around Bitcoin and just make it resilient as hell. And I think those are the bullish things. I
think if Trump's first tweet back on Twitter is Bitcoin only, that might move the price.
Yeah, that's fair. I think that could be.
Puts Bitcoin in the bio.
Yeah. Well, but it might also result in it might even out because his base may be stacking, and then a bunch of like just knee jerk, well, if he likes it, then I'm dumping it kind of people would probably even out. It would just be a polarized, partisan like evening of political weight behind Bitcoin, which would be unfortunate.
I think there's one man who can really pump the price. His name is Jerome.
Yeah, he could.
He's got the keys to the print. He's got the keys to the printing room.
Yeah. It's, again, everybody's treating Bitcoin like a tech stock right now, which is I guess that's also like a sleeper kind of bullish thing, but eventually that goes away. It's what was it, Bill Miller the other, like, I think just today or yesterday was on CNBC or MSNBC, whatever it was, with his Bitcoin hat on, like in the midst of like, we just had a 30% dump and he's like chilling with a Bitcoin hat, like doing interviews, which is like that kind of sentiment where it's like these guys that their entire careers are built on preserving the purchasing power of their capital, and they're not shaken whatsoever by a 30% price dump inside of a week. And they're like, yeah, go on CNBC with a Bitcoin hat. Sweet. See you there. Like that's the kind of stuff that again, like I've got conviction because I've been around the space, and I feel like I have a decent understanding of what's going on. But when I see people again whose jobs it is to preserve capital that aren't phased whatsoever by this, then it just further strengthens my conviction. So, guys, I'm gonna round it up here. We've had a good rip. We've had 2 hours here, so if I kept you longer, I apologize. But let's just do a quick round of final thoughts, and then also I'm going to challenge you to not only give any final thoughts that you may have, but a recommendation of something that people should check out, whether it be a podcast you listened to recently that you liked, a book, an article, really anything that you found useful in your Bitcoin journey that you think people should check out that they might not have seen already. So on my end, final thoughts. Again, I just appreciate all of your time. I love having so many awesome guests on here to just come and chat and have their unique perspectives on Bitcoin and what it means to them. And in terms of content, I'm just going to kind of stick with my theme for being bullish this week. I highly recommend that people go check out that tutorial on the seed signer, even if you don't plan on building one yourself, which I do recommend just as a learning tool, even if you don't end up using it for how you actually, secure your Bitcoin. This is a really unique thing in learning Bitcoin and learning like public and private keys and all of that. It's such a cool and unique tool. So yeah, highly recommend. Just go back and check out. It's the last video that I put out before this one on Seed Signer. So check that out. But I'll rotate. Pastorcoin, you're up. Any final thoughts for the day and any recommendations you might have for people?
Yeah, so glad to be on the podcast. Really is a tremendous privilege. So thank you so much. And for everyone who was a part of it, you guys are awesome. I love you guys. Aside from the Church of Jesus Christ, the Bitcoin community has been one of the most, I know there's a lot of talk about Bitcoin maximalism and toxicity, but really has been one of the most embracing and loving communities, even though it's only online. I feel the love, and I love you guys, and I pray for you guys. And for as far as a resource, it's not necessarily a Bitcoin resource, but there's a book I recently I listened to a lot of books as I'm working and stuff. There's a book called The Maker versus the Takers: What Jesus Said About Social Justice and Economics. One of the best books I've ever heard on the teachings and life and ministry of Christ and the economics, his economic teachings and the economics of the first century and how that led to actually his crucifixion and stuff. So if you want to learn about what Jesus says about economics, that book is really good. And if you are a Bitcoiner, it will resonate with you tremendously. So check that out. The Maker versus the Takers. Great book. Love you guys. God bless you all. Thank you so much. Jesus is the way. Bitcoin is the way. And yeah, I'm going to sign off, put my kids to bed. But thanks a lot, guys. I love you all.
All right. Cheers, man. Thank you for being here.
Take care, Pastor. Good to meet you.
Yeah. Gandalf, I will pass it to you. Dude, any final thoughts, and if you have anything to recommend for people?
Yeah, I think my final thought is just during these times, it's just get some perspective. I think if any of us had been told, 2 years ago, if any of us had been told 2 years ago that today we would be at 30K in a bear market with all the stuff that's gone on, any of us would have signed that contract to like make that happen, and we would have been over the moon. But yet here we are, a lot of people not feeling great about the price because it's not 58K, right, Deniz?
100%.
Yeah, so to perspective, sometimes things in Bitcoin happen way faster than you expect, and then there's other things that I think maybe happen slower than we'd like. And then just in terms of a resource, I'm going to just follow your lead, Ben. I think if anyone wants to learn more about how Bitcoin works, I've been reading Mastering Bitcoin by Andreas Antonopoulos. I think a lot of people maybe think that book is like for coders or whatever, but it does have a little bit of code and stuff, but it's really just to explain to you how Bitcoin works. So I'd highly recommend that if you want to gain a deeper understanding of the protocol.
Awesome. I love that. Great.
Thanks for having us on. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks for being here, man. Deniz, you are up. Any final thoughts and recommendations?
For sure. Yeah, firstly, just want to thank you, Ben, for bringing me on. This is awesome. And you had really great guests on.
Thanks, man.
Kudos for that. Yeah, a lot of what I'd probably say is what Gandalf has been saying. It's just sort of like, yeah, this is the time to build, to learn, to do whatever it is you wanted to do, just because of the age we live in. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, if price doesn't go up for the next like year, 2 years, whatever, at least that won't distract you from, whatever it is that you're working on. So that's something to think about. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And if you wanted to check out, I don't know, like another resource, probably B2C Kindergarten. I don't know if you guys have heard of them.
Yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah, don't bring your kids on there, but it's a ton of fun if you want to connect to other Bitcoiners. I guess that's where I started. Yeah, when I started to really reach out to other Bitcoiners just to get their perspective on, I don't know, what else is going on. And yeah, this dip will pass just like all the other dips. Don't know how long, but yeah, at some point, we're going to have more people onboarded, and there's just not enough to go around after a certain point.
Yeah, agreed. Awesome. Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for being here. I appreciate your time. And again, shout out to everybody in Bitcoin Lake and Pastor Bitcoin for being here as well. Yeah, it was a great chat. We had a good rip, 2 hours and 10 minutes. Solid. So guys, thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and you're welcome back anytime, of course.
Thanks, Dean, and thanks to everyone who tuned in.
Awesome.
Thanks.
Cheers, guys. I'll see you later. Awesome. And everybody still watching, thank you so much for being here. This is a good one. This is a good, nice, long rip here. Appreciate your time. Appreciate everybody in the comments as well. Thank you for being here and chiming into the conversation. If you want to help with the show, again, you can, of course, like, subscribe, share, all those things, super important. You can hit up the previously mentioned sponsors down below: Shakepay, LEDN, Bitrefill, Keystone, BillFodl. They're all down here. Also, check out that seed signer tutorial that I dropped on Monday. Highly recommend. And if you really liked what you saw, you can always drop me a tip at my Strike page. That is strike.me/BTC sessions. And with that, I'm out. Have yourselves a wonderful day or evening, wherever you may be. We'll see you guys next time for your daily session.
HODL the Bitcoin.